Well, folks, here we are again for the weekly forecast. And before we get to the main forecast, let's take a recap of this past week. And of course, the big news was we started to see a fairly robust precipitation event make its way into the state as we got into the day Tuesday. We've seen precipitation breaking out in the panhandle as we see moisture moving in from the southwest and starting to interact with the frontal boundary, moving slowly from the northern plains region down into the central plains. And as we progressed through the day on Wednesday, that moisture started to pivot toward the east, and we've seen some pretty robust totals coming out of portions of southeastern Nebraska, especially south and east of the line from Omaha to about Fairbury. 1.5 to 2.5 inch totals were very, very common. Unfortunately, as you move northwest of this region, precipitation totals dropped off more in the 1/4 to 3/4 inch range. Not a widespread in terms of heavy precipitation, but a widespread event in terms of total precipitation, and we very much welcome that. We need to see more of these type of events as we've basically been in a pretty significant drought now for the better part of a year. And we do actually have 12-month precipitation totals, even including this most recent rainfall in the northeast, that are approaching the 10 to 12 inch range. So probably 3, 4, 5 weeks of this before we'd even consider that we've undergone a pretty significant change toward a wetter pattern. But there are several opportunities to move through this next 7-day period, and hopefully that will add to the precipitation totals we've had. It'll give us a little bit additional moisture for wheat planting, and it maybe also give us a little boost to our forage crops that have been so devastated during this drought year. So let's take a look at the upper air models and see what we might expect as we go through this next 7-day period. And as we go to the upper air models for today, what you'll notice is there's a little bit of yellow here. There's a pool of moisture that's left over from, of course, the thunderstorm activity that moved through during the mid part of the week. And that is going to be lifting a little bit toward the northeast, and this frontal boundary is going to start to drop through during the weekend, and we might actually be able to intersect some of this moisture, particularly as we get into Monday. But for today, we're not expecting much in the way of any scattered precipitation outside of maybe an isolated chance in extreme southeastern Nebraska. Definitely going to be a much cooler trend than we've been accustomed to the past few weeks. We're looking at highs in the mid-70s across the northeast, potentially into the mid to upper 80s across the western portion of the state. But as we go into tomorrow, we're going to start to see that trough beginning to make its way southward. And by the late evening hours, we should see that entering northern Nebraska and generating some scattered thunderstorm and shower activity. We're looking at highs in northeast Nebraska in the low to mid 70s. Across western Nebraska, we'll be looking at probably the low to mid 80s. Now on Monday, this system really pushes its way south, where it's going to be a very raw, cool day across northern Nebraska. We may not even make it out of the 50s. We're looking at highs somewhere between 58 to probably see about 64. Good chance of scattered showers and thunderstorm activity across the eastern half of the state. Unfortunately, as you go toward western Nebraska, I don't think we're going to see quite the precipitation totals, but there is still some isolated moisture that we could see. We're looking at highs in the southeast before the front comes through that might make it up to the 80-degree mark, but overall fairly cool conditions. Now as we get to Tuesday, that low pivots its way to the east of us. In its wake, we're going to see some fairly cool conditions and might actually see some pockets of frost developing across north central and northeast Nebraska. Overall, we're looking at highs that will be around the mid to low 60s across the northeast. In western Nebraska, we'll be pushing about the mid 70s. Now on Wednesday, yet another system starts to push its way through, another reinforcing shot of cold air that might generate some showers and thunderstorm activity. Again, late during the day and the overnight hours, we're looking at highs in the northeast, 59, 62. In the southwest, 69 to 72. And as we get into Thursday, that system is right on top of us. We'll be starting to see some scattered light precipitation. Doesn't look like as much moisture associated with this system, but overall upper 50s northeast to around the mid 60s southwest. And on Friday, everything clears to the east of us. We're looking at very cool conditions. Northeast mid 50s. Again, chance of frost activity during the morning. The west mid 70s. 8 to 14 day forecast from next Thursday to the following Tuesday. The cold conditions continue in terms of precipitation. It looks like this latest round will end, and we will see no more precipitation during the remainder of the period.